welcome. If everyone will stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, everyone. Thank you. Welcome. Kathy, you want to give us a roll call, please?
Sure do. Renee Saban.
Here.
Pacos.
Present.
Bauer. Here. DeLogley.
Here.
Vandermeer.
Here.
Deskin.
Here.
Bartleson.
Here.
And Coretta.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Very good. I see Pastor Ernest Jones in the audience. Would you like to open us in prayer, Pastor?
Pass this to the mayor, please.
Please pray with me. Mighty Father in heaven, we look to the hills from which our help come, and our help come from you. Your word says, in all their ways acknowledge you, and you will direct our path. We ask you to direct our path today, to give us wisdom and understanding from on high. Amen.
And thank you. Tonight, I'd like to recognize Dave Scory. Dave, you can come up, and if you want to bring your wife, please. She's been as big a part of your life as you have there, so come on up.
Keep one document on the screen and then open up another document. Just look at something down here, not something that can't retire.
Well, he said he wants the real chief up here.
You know, Dave, I think longest serving person in the department ever at 37 years. Is that right? It's amazing. And Dave has served the city of Lockport for over 37 years, and his wife as well, because these things, they go tandem. You know, it's like if you don't have the support of your wife, it just doesn't work. And so I want to thank you too, Mrs. Scory, for all your support to the city of Lockport, and for Dave to be here. And but one of the things is I really wanted to say was this. You've had oversight over 5 different stations, I believe, and 6 of them. And the last one that you did, you were so sensitive to the history of Lockport and to our heritage that you really just went so much further than I think you ever needed to do. But it was your heart to be part of the city of Lockport and part of just the redevelopment we're doing, and to see the pride that we have as we're restoring State Street, and you got it. And I just really wanted to say on behalf of myself and the council just how much we appreciate that you did that for us. And just above and beyond all the great service you've done, how you've protected us over the years, how you have been able to lead the crews, and to all that they've done to watch over Lockport through fires and accidents and all the other things that you guys deal with. But on top of that, you went above and beyond with the way the station looks, and I just really wanted to say thank you to that and present you this certificate for your service and recognition, and just a personal thanks to you. Dave's ready to retire. So, all right, buddy, thanks again. All right, my friends. So I passed out some sheets to the council members talking about some of the liaison positions. Let me just kind of go through what I'm thinking here. I'd asked Jason to continue on with his liaisonship as finance. And now that Chris Capodona's gone, I had asked him if he'd be willing to kind of look over the HR position as well, and he agreed to, which I appreciate. The community development has been something Jim Petrakis has been doing. I think he's doing a great job, and he's asked to continue with that. Recently, we started working on this intergovernmental outreach, which we just recently sent the letter out to all the governing bodies. Just try to get together on occasion so that we could just bring everybody up to speed which is going on, so we can all understand what everyone's doing. Sometimes we do developments, housing, for instance, which really affects everybody. It affects schools, it affects safety, and just giving other governmental agencies a heads up on what we're doing and vice versa. So I thought it was a really good way of keeping everybody on the same page. And so Jim has been involved in getting that set up. I'll continue with the economic development and marketing aspects of things. Joanne has been doing a great job with beautification, quality of life, and housing. Christina and Renee, I asked them to do something it's a little bit short-term, but very vital, but I think in the end will be a long-term, how its final legs are, we'll see. But it's the downtown business retention, especially during the construction. It's going to be very challenging. Christina got together today with some folks from the chamber and private business to start kind of forming a little bit of a committee so that they can really put a plan of attack together. You could talk about that in a second if you want, Christina. Half our budget is police. It's a very, very big aspect of who we are. People don't realize that with all the things we do, half the budget is police. It's a big responsibility, and I was going to ask Catherine if she could kind of be in charge of looking over that and public safety. Code enforcement, JR, I was looking to see if you could help with that. We could talk more about what I'm looking for on that specifically. And then nobody knows more about water than Darren does. And nobody retains more knowledge than Darren. The guy's like my memory bank. So he's going to keep an eye on water and CIP. And remember, these are kind of informal. These are really just, you're the go-to people for this. If staff needs to reach out, it's good to go through one of the aldermen first, who's in, like if chief's got something, work with Catherine on these things so that it can come before council. It's a good way to keep us informed of new things that are going on without it just being, it's a way to get better perspective of the entire council on different things. So I appreciate your help and willingness to do these things, and we could talk more on the side if there's deeper questions you guys have about, more specifics about things we're looking for. So did you want to mention at all, Christine, about kind of what your thoughts were today with meeting with Laura and Lisa?
Yeah, they were really promising. What the plan is hopefully this will extend past the construction, but the plan is to retain every business and create some fun downtown. We're putting together the chamber, Main Street, and businesses, and us, the council, Renee and I, we're getting together and we're going to try to create programs to hopefully bring people downtown, especially during this construction, because it's going to be a hard sell. So hopefully we can do it. And that's the start of it. And we'll be meeting soon and hopefully getting stuff off the ground shortly.
Yeah, I heard, we got the meeting started and I just was in and out, but you guys are coming up with really good ideas and I think good plan of attack already. So, all right, I appreciate that. Does anybody have any liaison reports, things that are currently going on?
Oh, I do.
Yes, please.
I have 3 for the police, so it was quite fitting. Just a reminder, the Lockport Love golf outing is not this Friday, but next Friday, August 11th. So if you're interested in coming to golf, that'll be a fun night, or a fun whole day, I guess you could say, and that will be at Broken Arrow. Second thing I want to say is National Night Out. Yesterday was a huge success in Willowwalk. I would say maybe 500 people came out. We ran out of plates in the middle, and they had to do a plate run to go get more plates, but the line was nonstop. Merv was making hot dogs, and Chief and I were stuffing the hot dogs with the buns for a while, and then I moved into the pizza line, and when I arrived, they said, "Great, you're here, go to work." And so I was like, "Oh, thanks." Wasn't expecting it, but that's okay, I enjoyed it. And today, for feedback, I went to one of the camps that my daughter was in, and all these people said, that was great. They're like, how often does it have? And then other people were like, is there one tonight somewhere? And I'm like, no, I think it's usually the Tuesday across everywhere I go, but maybe you can Google it. But people were talking about it today at the event I was at. So kudos to the police department and everyone who organized that. And then the third thing is Citizens Police is coming up. They are now taking applications for their next class. If you have not done Citizens Police, consider it. I believe I was in the class of 2010 or so. My husband was in the class 3 or 4 years prior to that. Joanne told me she's done it. I know Darren's done it. I don't know if I've, okay. Ben's done it. Anybody else? Kathy's done it. So it is wonderful. We were able to recruit 4 people last night at National Night Out to join. And so, yes, if you have not done it, it's supposed to be Monday nights. And as from what I've heard, it's like a 10-week program with a banquet afterward, and it's great. You learn all these different things about the police department and things that you might not have known, but it's an excellent program. And you could contact the police department or Jaron for any more information. Do you want to say anything else along that? Okay.
You know, what we learned in the past is that people who attend, they really understand the issues that police have to confront every day, and I think it'd really be good for some of the people who actually complain to put them there, because they understand what they go through, even whether it's high weeds or whatever they complain about. They really when the class is over, they, wow, we did not know that's the kind of job you had. So it's nothing but really good stuff, and it only takes like $30,000 out of the budget. I'm just kidding. It's free.
It's not. He's being sarcastic.
No, we really appreciate it. Thank you, Catherine, and thank you. It is a good program, so. All right. Anything else,
That's all
folks?
I've got.
I do have one thing, if I'm not speaking out of turn here, that long-awaited development code here, right? Next week or two, we're getting a first reading, send it out to everybody so everyone can kind of take a look at, if we're still on.
Presented August 16th.
Do you want to just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, sorry,
So the development code for the book that any developer that comes in, kind of make us more developer friendly. Putting something in a book where anybody can come into town, know it. We are very consistent in our policies, procedures, and things that we're asking for from one developer to the next. Where they're looking at and saying, these are the type of streets I want to put in, curbs, this is what's being required. So somebody can look at it and say, I can build here, here's my costs, without it being like, well, we changed our mind, we want to add thicker streets, more concrete, more. So it's kind of like setting our codes, our development as we're moving forward, sets the process that we go through, our entire process, everything that's there, gets everybody on the same page. So we kind of had an outdated development code. This is in the first and supposedly in the series. We want to do the municipal code after this. Long awaited for Darren. Darren's been pushing for the development code, so we're going to get that. It's not something to rush and run through it. We want everyone to be able to read it, understand it, get it. So when you see some of these developments too, that you understand where they're coming from. So.
All right, very good.
Did I explain that? Or okay.
All right, my friends, is that it? All right, let's move on to the fun stuff. Pam, are you taking PZ1?
I am, thank you. Good evening. The applicant, Ganesha Gayatri, or GG Tempo, currently located at 16059 West 151st Street, is seeking approval of annexation and rezoning for the property located to the west of them at 16105 West 151st Street, and an amendment to the special use permit for a religious house of worship and final development plan so that they can construct a new 7,200 square foot building. 3,300 square feet would be on the main level. That would include their worship area, and 3,600 on the lower level, which would be in the basement, is the community room and kitchen. A new parking lot consisting of 125 standard parking spaces and 4 accessible parking spaces, a proposed detention area, and a new updated septic system. The project is anticipated to be constructed in 3 phases. Each phase has a projected deadline. The improvements and timeline are addressed in the annexation agreement, which we will be holding a public hearing on after this discussion. I've identified the 7 plans that are under consideration this evening and moving forward. Just kind of to recap, back in 2012, the original property was annexed and zoned to O2 General Office. The original special use permit for the house of worship, religious house of worship, was granted. In addition was a reduction to the transitional yard from 50 feet to 25 feet along the west property line, as well as the property comprised approximately 3 acres. It contains a single-family home that has been converted for the current use as the temple. Since the original approvals, unfortunately, no approvals have been completed. However, the owners did purchase the property to the west, which is another plus or minus 1.5 acres, and now they wish to incorporate that into their overall plan to do a new temple and parking lot. The Plan and Zoning Commission held a public hearing at their regular meeting back on March 14th, in which they reviewed and considered the annexation, rezoning, and amendment to special use permit. The final development plans were also presented and considered. No one from the public at that time came out to provide any testimony for or against the project. The applicant and his development team were present to respond to any questions and comments from the commission. I've included a copy of the minutes, approved minutes from the March 14th meeting, which goes into much more detail and the extent of the discussion by the commission, which included why nothing had been completed from the original requests, the timing of the phase 3, which would include the actual temple building being 7 years, and then they were concerned with the encroachment of the building into the transitional yard along the west property line. When the original encroachment was granted, it was more or less just for the circulation aisle and parking lot. The Plan Commission, because of these comments, moved forward with a recommendation on the annexation, rezoning, and special use, but tabled the final development plan so that the applicant could go back, adjust the location of the temple building, address some other concerns that had been raised, and then come back at a later date. They did consider this at their July 11th meeting. The delay resulted in just some issues with getting the plans prepared, and then unfortunately they lost their original engineer who prepared the plans, had to find a new one. So by the time that all got re-coordinated and ready to go, we were into the July meeting. So on March 14th, by a vote of 5-0, the Plan Commission recommended approval of the annexation, rezoning, and amendment to special use permit. And then on July 11th, by a vote of 7-0, the Plan Commission recommended approval of the final development plan. It was subject to certain conditions. The first condition was that certain things needed to be accomplished prior to committee of the whole. Those items have been received and addressed. The plat of consolidation, however, is tied into the dedication plat. So the consolidation plat has to go to the Plan and Zoning Commission, so it'll be coming back to the council at a later date with the consolidation of combining all the lots together, and then the 7 feet of additional right-of-way that's needed along 151st Street. The remaining conditions through 2 through 6 will just remain conditions of approval of the final development plan. And that being said, the applicant is present this evening with his team, and staff is seeking direction to place these requests on the August 16th City Council agenda for final action.
All right, crew, any questions, concerns, thoughts?
I attended all the planning commission meetings and spoke with staff over this, so it's been well over a year. Everybody's worked hard on this. A lot of hours been put in from staff and from the petitioner here. I'm in full support of what's in our pack and that be presented. So, you know, I'd be happy with putting it on a consent agenda.
All right, any other thoughts?
Mayor, I have some questions. So Pam, can you, for the council, explain the 3 different phases in general terms, what the goals are for each phase?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just flip here to my, so phase 1, which would be scheduled to be completed by June 30th of 2018, would include connection to the city water service line, would include removal of the old septic system and installation of a new septic system, construction of a new driveway and 4 parking spaces, 2 of which would be accessible, 2 would be standard, partial regrading of the underlying property, relocation of the existing signage or removal of the existing signage, and then originally the owner was to complete the consolidation plat, which has been submitted and will be going through the process. Phase 2, which is scheduled to be completed June 30th of 2019, would include removal of designated trees, installation of a new, it's kind of like an extension of the new parking lot, which would include 28 more parking spaces, underground utilities, parking lot lighting and storm sewer lines, connection to a fire hydrant, construction of an east entry canopy and walkway around the building, construction of detention pond, construction or connection to city water supply, and then the existing wells will be maintained, but the purpose shall be solely limited to landscaping use and maintenance. Phase 3, which is to be completed by June 30th of 2024, would include regrading of the remaining property, construction of retaining walls, extension of the underground storm water pipes, installation of the remaining site lighting, final expansion of the parking lot with another 84 parking spaces, and construction of the new 7,200 square foot temple building, and then completion of landscaping and tree planting.
So the one question, if you can point to where the existing parking lot is now, or Dev or anybody? Okay.
If
You're-
I may, before the owner gets there, this item has to be set on the action agenda because it does require two-third
Okay.
approval, so.
Current driveway right now is located, see, this is the existing building here, it's up in this corner, and the current driveway use, that comes on this side of the home, is that accurate?
Yeah. It's more on the west side of this particular combined parcel.
If-
That's the one which we're currently using it.
And if I just might add, in your packet, following the report, is an aerial that shows the new lot and the existing property, so you can see where the driveway is there as well.
Okay. I couldn't get the internet for right now. I've got no problem with the timeline and stuff as we're moving forward. We've done that for other people with annexation and getting things in order and doing all that stuff. But if phase one, at the end of phase 1 and 2, is there anything code-wise, Pam, that we would, if the lot just stayed like that we would be deficient code-wise? Is there items that would be on there, I mean, in terms of the amount of parking, the amount of lighting, the amount of everything, of where we sit on, by the end of 2019, I guess, is that second phase?
Well, I mean, at this point, the only code, as we just talked about under review, is the development code. For the most part, many of the things that have been incorporated into the development code are things that we have worked with applicants on an aside or through the annexation process. The zoning ordinance, the current zoning ordinance as it exists today, was used to do the review. I would not, depending upon what kind of things we might modify in the zoning ordinance, I guess I would defer to the attorney in terms of what happens when we change the code, if this project has not been complete, the phases have not been completed, or if they're under review, in progress of being constructed.
Yeah, there are provisions in the annexation agreement that if someone breaches, then we could take action, either force them to comply or take other measures, and I believe that's in the agreement regarding that, and that includes if the owner is not in compliance with the current code.
Okay, but I mean, in terms of, at the end of phase 2, you're gonna have that smaller parking lot, right, Dev?
Yeah, there will be.
As it stands there, it's not code deficient, right? We made sure that at the end of phase 2, we've got enough lighting, parking, whatever to
Yes.
fit that area.
Yes.
Most of the stuff happens in phase 3, which is the big temple. That's more parking, that's more, I get that portion. When you do build the temple at the end, what happens to the original building? Does that stay there?
What was that? No, yeah, the existing building will stay there. It's going to be residence for the priest. So that's how we're gonna work on it. So if we have to work with building department, planning department to meet any codes inside that building, we'll work on it.
Of course, come on. My only concern is that we've had other applicants that have come up, and we've had the 5-year extension, right, annexation. They got 5 years to do parking lots or sewers or any of that stuff, that we're consistent, that this is within 2 years, which is great in my book, that we're getting things done, and the parking lot's getting done, and the detention's put in, the water's put in, and all that stuff. That later phase is, if you don't build, you don't do the parking lots. So those are tied together. I get that portion of it. No, we wouldn't want the annexation agreement to force you to actually build a bigger building. So I'm fine with it as it is. I'll have some clarifications. I couldn't get the email on the old annexation of what, and I don't know if you have a summary, if there were big hits of, what's the major difference between the two?
What it does is it breaks down the development into 3 phases. The original amendment didn't have phases, just kind of in a general term had, you need to get the I think, connect to the city water and other things, but it really didn't break down in schedules, the 3 phases. Plus this.
Same scope of work, same,
It's very similar conditions. It's not like we're relaxing any of the conditions. The other major factor is that there's the addition of parcel 2 and then consolidation of parcel 1 and parcel 2 to expand the development.
understood. Okay. That's all the questions I had, sir.
All right, anybody else? All right, I think it's good stuff. Thank you for the desire to expand and build upon what you already have, and stay here in Lockport and be part of the city. So thank you.
This is gonna be on a consent agenda?
We'll put it on action item. It needs a 2/3 vote, so we will put it on it for an action item next.
Will be action item, okay, very good, thank you.
All right. Next, do you need me to open up the public hearing, Sonny?
Yes, and either you could open it up, or if you want me to go ahead and do the
No, I
background.
can read this.
Okay,
That's fine.
great.
I like to hear myself talk. All right, before we invite members of the public to the podium to comment on the proposed amendment that will replace the 2012 annexation agreement between the city and the Ganesha Ge 3 Temple, commonly referred to as GG Temple, I will ask the city staff to provide a summary of the amendment to the annexation agreement, the zoning, annexation of a new parcel into the original annexation agreement, and any special use permit for the property. After staff reports on the project, I'll call on the representatives of GG Temple to the podium to offer their comments in support of the amendment to the original 2012 annexation agreement. After GG Temple folks' comments, I will then ask for a motion to open the public hearing on the proposed amendment to the annexation agreement. Once the motion is approved, I'll then invite any member of the public to the podium to comment on the proposed amendment to the annexation agreement. Please give your name, and you may provide your address so we know your proximity to the proposed development. The city staff and the development team will be available to answer any questions from the public. After the members of the public have had an opportunity to be heard, I will then ask for a motion to close the public hearing. After approval to close the public hearing, I will then ask the city council members to ask any questions they have regarding the project, and to make comments and ask any questions of the city staff and the owner. Once city council members have had an opportunity to make its comments, I will ask the committee of the whole whether to place the amendment to the annexation agreement along with the accompanying ordinance annexing the property on the city council's meeting on the August 16th meeting for approval. So I will now ask city staff to present their reports.
And since Ms. Hirth already presented her report, I'll go ahead and present mine. And this is just the summary of the requirement of the public hearing on the approval of the amendment. This annexation amendment will replace the 2012 amendment, annexation agreement, I'm sorry. And basically, as we stated earlier, the difference between the original annexation agreement and this amendment is that the development will be separated into 3 different phases. Parcel 2 will be added. There will be a plat of consolidation that will come before the city council later on for approval. And what they'll do is that the plat will be hopefully approved, and it would be developed into one property. And as indicated in the attachments to my memo, the public has been notified as required by state statute, and the city administration at this time recommends and requests that a public hearing be held to the committee of the whole meeting, and then this item be placed on the agenda for August 16th.
Okay. If anybody from the temple wants to say anything or has any comments, feel free. Dev, come on up.
I remember when I was mayor in 2012, we signed this agreement, but I personally feel and would want council and everyone to know that we believe that this annexation agreement is much better in a sense what the city attorney just said, that acquiring the second parcel has given us a lot more opportunity to provide the retaining pond, as well as put the tree lines there, and also make the temple where it's more feasible with the setbacks and everything else required by the planning commission. So we were able to do that. So all in all, this plan is much better, and we had a very good success with the planning department working on it. We've been working on it, going back to 2015. It's just taking longer, but we have a better capable engineering company with us who are from Lamont, and Bill Zalewski is from that engineering company, and they're working with us. Currently, they're working on getting the prices for Phase 1 and Phase 2, because we know that Phase 1 needs to be finished by June of 2018 and the Phase 2 by June of 2019. So we're working on getting those prices right now. So hopefully we'll have some prices from them and then get the bid started, and hopefully we'll get the Phase 1 done. So, you know, I think that's where we are. So for annexation agreement, we are very positive that this has worked in favor of the city as well as in favor of the temple property. So this would be the first Hindu church in Lockport, as if anybody on the council or in the city of Lockport didn't know. So there is one in Homer Glen, there is one where I go in Willowbrook, and there is one in Lamont too, you know, but they all do different functions and different things. And yesterday, Alderwoman Peretta called me, and we kind of went over that. So, you know, she was very gracious to call me and ask me questions, and she can ask today too if she wants to, you know. But it really was a good news for the temple to be welcomed by the city. So, you know, we hope that you look at our annexation agreement positively and the plan for all three, and engineering plan what we're presenting to you. So on behalf of Mr. G and our temple committee, I truly want to appreciate and let everyone know that we thanks the city of Lockport. So thank you.
All right, very good, Dave, thanks.
Thank you.
Does anyone from the public have any comments or thoughts that they want to share? All right, then I'll just do a motion to close the public hearing part of this, if I can have a motion.
So moved.
Second. Seconded by Joanne, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Council, do you guys have any last comments or anything to make? All right, I think we're all in agreement. Very glad you're coming, and welcome. So we look, what else do we need to do now? Is this another piece of action we need to put on for next week, or is the first action we're doing enough for this?
Yes, this is something that we're changing up. Instead of having a public hearing at the city council meeting, we're doing it at the committee of the whole. So if there's any issues regarding either the annexation agreement or the amendments, that it gets worked out before the city council meeting, and
Okay.
we don't have to rehash it. So besides opening up the hearing and closing it, that's the only action item for this. And this will be placed for the action item for the August 16th meeting.
Got it, perfect. All right, thank you. All right, so moving along to PZ3, who's taking that one?
I am. The next item, William Warman of WW Architects and Consulting, on behalf of Ahmad Zadan, which is the owner of the Marathon Gas Station, has submitted a final development plan for a new mini-mart building, which would be a 1,740 square foot facility. The property is located at the northeast corner of State and 17th Streets. The owner is looking to increase the sales floor area to stay competitive in the fuel station mini market industry. Currently, the property is improved with an approximate 400 square foot building. Includes a retaining wall, parking lot with 2 access points from State Street, gas pumps, gas pump canopy, and an accessory building or shed. The existing building will be demolished, and the larger, more modern building would be constructed. The existing retaining wall will be altered to allow for the expansion. The remainder of the site will essentially remain the same. However, during the construction phase, the owner applicant proposes to perform some general maintenance and upgrades, much needed repairs, which will improve the overall condition of the property. The plans under consideration have been identified. This did go to the Plan and Zoning Commission on July 11th. There was no public hearing required because it was just a final development plan. I have outlined for you what the Plan Commission discussion kind of entailed. One thing I would like to point out, though, is there was some concern expressed about the proximity of the building to the retaining wall and the concern of potential climbing onto the building because of the way the commercial site backs into the residential property behind. The applicant did provide a response at that meeting that there would be a minimum of 5 foot will exist between the building and a wall with a difference of 7 feet in height. The applicant did offer to add a fence at the top of the retaining wall, which has been included on the plans that you have before you this evening. The other condition that, or other concern that had come up was about some non-conforming parking conditions. The applicant had proposed some diagonal parking spaces along the east, north, and the 22 parallel spaces, 22-foot parallel spaces along the south. The commission was interested in kind of adjusting those parking spaces a little bit to increase the distance or increase the width of the circulation aisle that was adjacent to those parking spaces. So subsequent to the Plan and Zoning Commission meeting, the applicant did revise the plans. I outlined those revisions for you in the report. The first revision was an elevation plan that's been submitted in color. A cross-section has been provided for the retaining wall, which shows the relationship to the building. A 36-inch tall chain link fence is shown on the cross-section as an additional separation barrier between the top of the building and the retaining wall. The parking spaces have been redimensioned properly. And then, as I mentioned, there was some concern about changing the angle of the parking spaces to increase the width of the access aisle. However, by putting them in at an angle, it actually didn't do what we thought it would do. It actually reduced the aisle width a little more than what had been previously shown on the original plan. So we would be seeking direction from the council, and we would suggest going back to the 90-degree parking spaces as originally proposed. They changed the parallel spaces, and then the permanently affixed curb stops, which are located on the north side, were adjusted from a 1-foot setback to a 3-foot setback from the fence and wall, and this is to allow the overhang when the car pulls into the parking space. By a vote of 7-0, the Plan Commission did recommend approval of the final development plan, subject to 6 conditions. These conditions would be included in the final resolution approved for this project. They have to do with cleaning up the existing parking lot by resurfacing it, seal coating, and striping it so that it can be maintained in accordance with city code. The parking spaces on the north side, the permanently affixed curb stops would be included. Overall condition of the property should be in good condition and shall be improved with the following. The existing gas pump canopy has some rust that needs to be removed. It needs to be repaired, and the overall structure repainted. The old concrete remains in blocks along the perimeter of the parking lot are to be removed. The chain link fence that is damaged shall be repaired and or replaced. Prior to construction, they need to submit their engineering review and inspection fees. And just a reminder to have on record, we will need a building permit for the existing shed so that we know we have something on file. And then a demolition permit will be required from the building department prior to the demolition of the existing building. The applicant is present for any questions or comments you might have. And then staff would be seeking direction to place this requested action on the August 16th meeting for final consideration.
All right. Everything seems okay. It's still the question about the parking. I mean, your recommendation is to go to the 90-degree?
Is to go back to the original design, because you still, I mean, it's still a little bit under what the drive aisle would be, but that's an existing condition. But by angling the parking, it makes the existing condition that's already non-conforming more non-conforming.
Okay. All right, council, what's thoughts, questions, concerns?
It'll be a welcome change. I go down that area. I live in that general area, so I go by this gas station on a daily basis, and it'll be nice to have a more updated looking building.
Yeah, concur. All right. All good? All right, yeah. We're excited about seeing the improvements, so thank you. Are we doing a public hearing on this too? Because I don't have a document. Okay, I just saw it on the name up here. All right, so what do you guys need? Do you need us to put this on the agenda for an item? Okay. Is this, Sonny, is this something that can be done on consent, or is this too need an action?
This would have to be the final development. I don't think it needs to be on action item. It could be on consent.
Oh, I think we're in agreement. Everybody good with the consent agenda then for the next meeting? All right, very good. All
Thank
right.
you.
What do we got next here?
CE1?
CE1. Oh, I see why I was confused. All right, my bad. So sorry. Yes, I was like one item off. All right, CA1, Bruce Road, Caton Farm.
You bet. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. The Bruce Road, Caton Farm Road project we discussed about a month or so ago at Committee of the Whole. Administration has been continuing to work with Will County, the Homer Township, the Village of Homer Glen, in discussing the high-level bridge, which is the ultimate project we're trying to get over 159th. The Eastern Coalition, the communities of Homer Glen, Homer Township, and the city of Lockport are trying to move the middle alignment. The middle alignment is the only portion north-south that would be a new road between 159th and Bruce Road. We've been working with the county. We've presented this concept at the Committee of the Whole in regards to sharing some of the costs in regards to exploring. There's two phases of the study. Study A is about $97,000, where the three partners have agreed to split those costs at 33% apiece. The Study B is $347,000. That amount would be owed by the city of Lockport wholly if we were to move forward with those new selections. We have asked those other partners to help us in funding those. They were comfortable in trying to fund the first portion, but they didn't feel comfortable in putting money into actually changing that route, which would really only benefit the city of Lockport to create more developable lands. So we understood that. We wanted to present this back to you again, where we had, again, brought this up to Committee of the Whole before. So the only thing that's really changed from the last meeting is that those other community partners are willing to fund the first portion, but not the second portion. And so we're still looking to prove this. It's not, it's not ideal, but it's the only path forward that we have been able to accomplish. And unfortunately, in about 18 months of negotiations with the county, they have fronted all this money to do this study and pick this route with the TCC. They've spent millions of dollars. They're asking us to spend the last few $100,000 here if we want to change the route. So I am recommending approval of the IGA. City Attorney and I have been working on that, and it's in its current draft form, is also in the packet. So we're just looking for feedback from the council in regards to how you would like to proceed.
Sure. So let me just give a little background, especially for, Renee, Christine, and maybe Catherine, who may not be familiar. But so let me get to the background of it. So we all know we need a new bridge. There's no argument there. But yeah, a 4-lane bridge that connects to a 2-lane road on either side is useless. So this project has always been about the state saying it has to connect from Route 30 in the west back to Route 7 in the east. So it's quite a long project, just about a bridge. So, this route is, where it ended up being picked is, the whole drama and story in of itself, why it's where it is. But basically it would go over from Caton Farm Road, go down to Oak, curve back up to Bruce, and then head on over. One of the points of contention we had early on when I was mayor, and when the new mayor in Homer was there, and even the township supervisors, we all talked about this. It's one of these projects that everyone knows needs to be done, but it's so stinking expensive. It's all like, well, is this ever going to happen? It just seems like a pipe dream. It's $600,000.
$600 million.
$600 million, sorry. Yeah, it's $600,000 just to talk about it, So, yeah, it's so stinking expensive. Well, part of it was, it's like, well, then why are we carving out an entirely new road east of I-355? They're going to have to acquire lands. They're going to have to go through, prime development lands. We are already widening Cedar Road to 4 lanes. Why are we just not connecting to that? Maybe we can shave off $100 million off of this project and actually bring it closer to some sort of reality. So, the other municipalities, we agreed on that, and so we approached the TCC and the county about doing that. They had difficulty walking back the middle alignment choice because we already spent the money, and it's like, look, I've seen this in the military. Just because you throw money at something and it doesn't make sense doesn't mean we should just keep rolling, right? It's like, if we have to change course, we have to change course. So we did, the other municipalities agreed to, like Ben said, split the cost of the first part of this to see if it's even feasible. The fact that they're not wanting to fund the rest of it, it really does make sense. Everything that would happen after it's agreed upon from the first phase of this, it wholly benefits Lockport. It's all development inside the city of Lockport. Do we like spending money on this? No. But it's the parcels that it's going for have all been zoned for residential. As Darren's pointed out, if we build homes there, it would cover the cost of this within 4 years, and those homes will be there for 100 years. So the cost will be made. The other thing, too, about it is it definitively will tell the developers who own that land that, yes, you can build on it. Right now, it's been held hostage. Nothing's been developed there because no one knows for sure whether or not the middle alignment is going to happen or it's not going to happen. So if nothing else, it can free up that property to finally be developed. So I think it's a good move. It makes sense to try to figure out if using the existing expansions of Cedar Road can be utilized for this project. But it's like you and I all feel like, well, can't we just look at it and say sounds good, right? It just takes all this money to do studies and do it properly. So that's what this is really about. So if questions, thoughts, concerns from everyone here today?
Each government entity of the three of the Eastern Coalition is talking about this project, and we were hoping to continue to seek approval from the individual boards and then get on the county board, I think, in September is the goal, to finalize an agreement.
The only thing I would like, and I am in full agreement with this, I've fought 8 years for this. 2 years ago, we had a joint meeting with Homer Township, Homer Glen, and Lockport Township, filled up this room here. The very next day, Ben and I went down to the county board and addressed the county board. That was when they actually had a concession 2 years ago. Well, if you want to pay for it, then you can go ahead and do it. The only thing, one thing I would like to add as a separate issue in a separate resolution next time is, and I want to read from a May 19, 2009 minutes of the meeting from the Caton Farm Bruce Road Phase 1 study. And it says, Mr. Schloniger, who was our city administrator at the time, stated the following: Lockport is in support of construction of the bridge across the Des Plaines River Valley. Lockport prefers the Cedar Road alignment but does not have the resources to reevaluate the alternative. Lockport will not oppose the middle alignment, but they also will not protect the corridor from development that may conflict with the alignment, and this project will be presented at the May 20 City Council meeting. Bullet point number 1, Lockport is in support of construction of the bridge. I think we need to go ahead and remain that way. Lockport prefers Cedar Road alignment but does not have the resources to reevaluate the alternative. We're doing that right now, so we meet bullet point number 2. But the most important one is bullet point number 3. Lockport will not oppose the middle alignment, but they will not protect the corridor. I would like to have a formal resolution at the next meeting opposing the middle alignment. Okay, so it's definitive, and it just goes hand in hand. I've been wanting to do this for 2 years. I've been told to wait. Well, it's been 24 months of waiting. It's time that we actually go ahead and go on record opposing this once and for all. And that needs to go ahead and be available in the September meeting for the county. I just believe it's imperative that we do this.
Well, the only thing I'd say about that, Darren, is we're just about to fund the study to see if Cedar Road is viable. We think it is, but what do we know? We're,
well, we know it's
sitting
viable, but see, the thing is this is still their out.
Well, okay, but if let's say, for instance, the Cedar Road alignment is unviable for whatever reason, right? There's an Indian burial ground, right? We can't do it. Whatever. Then what are you going to do? You're going to hold up the bridge and say, well, I'm not doing the middle alignment.
What we do is we go ahead and we officially oppose it. We're not going to go ahead and then stop residential development on that property. We'll build 1,000 homes over there, and then we'll let the county in 25 or 30 years buy those homes back. That's what I want. I want to go in and put it out to them and says, look, this is what Lockport, we are protecting our interest. okay? Our interests were not protected over a 15-year period of time by those that represented us by our mayors at that time, our city administrators at that time, our city engineers at that time. Nobody protected us. Okay, I want to protect this. I want to be able to go ahead and say, okay, Mr. Acme Home Builder Company, you can go ahead and submit a PUD on January 1st, 2019, to build 1,000 homes. Okay, and we can't do that as long as we have this opening to where, well, we're not going to protect it, but we're not going to go ahead and oppose it. I want it definitively opposed. And then I want it opened up to where we can have developers in the future. And Mr. Benson wants to have a comment on that.
Yes, I've had this conversation with Darren many times. There is a resolution we will need to repeal and restate. My advice up to this point has been, let's validate that other choice and choose to do that at that time. That doing it now may be a little premature. Perhaps we could have done it as part of our displeasure and how things were going 2 years ago. Maybe we should have done it then, but I felt it was better to try to negotiate, with the county and the board members and their executive team. And we've gotten to this point. Yes, there is a resolution that should be restated, and my recommendation is we do it at the time once we've funded this first portion that we know what the new route is going to be. We choose
That would be my thought too. Let's get our information.
We can do it the other
and
way.
we can make a decision.
Well, then that just sets us back 3, 4, 5 months with the county then. If they're gonna be
When
bringing
will we
this
get
up-
information back from this report, from this?
It's probably about
It shouldn't be too long.
It
All
shouldn't
the
be.
engineering's already been done. It's taken out of one folder, taken the pages, put it in another folder. That's
It
all
may
this
s-
is.
The agreement may allow them up to 12 months or 18 months, I forget what the date is. We've been told verbally it will not take that long to get to the first portion anyway. And then that second portion of validation may take another 12 to 8 months. So yes, we are looking at a long process. But again, I think within the next year, you'll know whether this new route is a viable choice. At that time, I think you can make the resolution to affirm that that's the way you want to go, and then you use Study B and the power of the purchasing to validate that claim.
The thing is, we already know this is a viable choice. In the second meeting in June, I had been put in the Will County 2020 plan. And I made it real easy for everybody up here to go ahead and read it, because I highlighted everything that pertained to the city of Lockport. Okay, we know this is a viable option, because within this document, they have a 4-lane road from State Street all the way going up to Cedar Road. Okay, all we are doing is saying is when they're putting these two reports together by the same two people at the county now. Okay, they had a 4-lane road going down Bruce Road to Cedar Road in the 2030 plan, and then they go ahead and come up with this mythical middle alignment road. Okay, and they push that. Okay, and so it's already viable because it's already in their plan.
Sure, and like I said, we all feel like it makes sense, but it still has to be done through an official study. That's just the way the world works. So we have to do it. I'm still of the opinion that, like, instead of jumping the gun.
Why do we have to have an official study? Why? What Darren said, I'm going to agree to a point here with him saying, just build the houses there. They're going to have to go around it. They're not going to demolish 100 houses or 1,000 houses.
We've talked to developers who won't invest that money or take that risk or sell a home, ask the realtors that they have to disclose that just potentially a new roadway coming through here through your basement. It's just not reality. You just can't build homes there.
No, they're not even on the plans anywhere for Will County yet to spend money on this, right? How many years out is this? 50
No,
years out?
it's in their list. It's in their capital plans.
It probably is a long way out. I agree.
Because everything gets pushed back, pushed back, pushed back.
Yeah.
The likelihood that this road may not be built until 2050, right? But do we want to leave the area of Lockport undeveloped until that time?
Right. And so having confirmation, and why do we have to do studies? I don't want to do study, Catherine. It's just what has to be done.
It's a lot of money.
Of course it
a lot
is.
of money.
But it's
And
just.
Will County should be paying every single cent of this, because it's their screw-up.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not
I
okay
agree.
with that.
I
I'm
agree
gonna
that
say
they
no.
should pay, but they're not. So we can either sit here and humph and fold our arms, or we can get it done. So we got the other entities to agree to help split the cost on the phase one. And then again, once it's official, then those homes, those developers can build the homes. We'll recapture that money. I too have been frustrated with it. I've been talking about this for 4 years. It's like county just will not spend the money. Like, we spent it, we're not changing our mind. It's classic government, right? I've already spent money bad, we're on a bad road, but we can't pull up now. So instead of us continuing on that trend, it's like, let's step in and do something. As far as like, making a resolution that says we'll, oppose the middle alignment, never allow it happen, I'm just like, just take this next step, get it done officially, so that, again, it's going to free up those houses or that space to build. No one's building houses there tomorrow. So we have plenty of houses being built with MI homes and stuff like that. It's not like there's some development that's like, revving to be there. My suggestion to council is that we just move forward with this step. Once it's confirmed, then we can make a resolution that says the middle alignment's not a viable
They
option.
haven't even finished their phase one. We're trying to preempt them. We're trying to get this into their phase one engineering, so they don't go out to phase two with all these drawings and all this other stuff, and they spend some more money, and
They go further down the road of the
further down.
middle alignment.
And here's what's going to happen, okay? They build this road, which we found out a month ago, we don't even know whose road it's going to be, okay? And so what that does is, we have this major arterial road, we have the tollway splitting Lockport in half. We might as well, on the day that they go ahead and do that, we just de-annex everything east of Gaga Road and just give it to Homer Glen then.
Darren, you're just using hyperbole. I agree with you. I agree with you that the middle alignment is not the right road. That's why I've been going in this direction to begin with. I'm just just be patient. Instead of doing a resolution next council meeting that says, no middle alignment, let's just take it easy, get this study done, and then we can all have a nice official reason why the middle alignment's not the right way to
The
go.
way I'm looking at this is, they've made their case, this is just us appealing it, right? We've got to spend money, we've got to put money to appeal this and actually prove them that that's the better one.
And they know it. It's just their stubbornness.
So,
It might not change anything. We still might have it coming through the middle, right? Even if we spend 400,000, it could be coming straight through the middle still, correct?
Well,
Only the 100,000. We're only on the hook for the first part, because if they choose the same route, there's no reason to spend the other 350.
right.
So we have to go to the TCC and say, look, it's viable. Homer Glen wants to do it. The township of Homer wants to do it. City of Lockport wants to do it, and it's viable. At that point, the county's not going to argue it. So it's just a matter of all of us. It's us having official documentation, an official study that says Cedar Road is just fine.
This is the other reason, if I may interrupt, about the intergovernmental committee, right? Getting everybody sitting down at the same time and then everyone talking about all the issues at the same time.
Right.
So,
Could you just reiterate, what is the cost to us right now?
So right now, and I would ask for this to be an action item on the next meeting of August 16th. We're waiting for more final confirmation from those other governing bodies. The City of Homer Glen and Homer Township and the City of Lockport are trying to split the first portion, which is Study A, which is $97,000. So we would divide that by 3. So right now, we would be committed to $32,000. Now, that could change. There's no guarantee that Homer Glen will agree to do it. They're saying they're for it, but they're talking about it just like you are in the next week or two. So when we come back in the 16th, we are hopeful that we're only asking for 1/3 of 97. It could be 2/3. It could be 100%. I would still make the recommendation that we go forward. We want the partnership in the spirit of intergovernmental cooperation. They've agreed that it affects the region and their communities as well. So I think they'll agree to the first portion. Once that is done, 12 months from now, the county will come back and say, yes, your theories have been, realized. Do you want to proceed? And then we would say, yes, we've approved, we'll budget for the $350,000 to continue the next part of the study.
Would this resolution be basically pre-approval of that second part?
We still have the choice. I mean, they can't make us spend the money, but
Yeah.
we're,
We can decide.
if you're saying, we'll still come back to council again at a future meeting saying, hey, 12 months from now, we've spent the 30,000 or whatever it is, and we've validated the argument, we'd like to proceed with 350. We wouldn't just go spend 350 without coming back to council.
So, excuse me, Ben, so what if Homer Glen and the other village that you, Homer Township, what if one of them pulls out? Can we revisit this to
I
make
would
a
still
decision
come
whether or
back
not
on
we
the
wanna move
16th,
forward?
and
It's
I
gonna
would let
cost
you
us
know.
now more money now.
Yeah.
Yep, I would it's still a vote, that's why it would be a vote action, that's the only thing that might change between now and the next meeting, is whether we have confirmed the three-way partnership on the first 100,000.
And when will you know that from the other?
As soon as they have their board meetings, I think Homer Glen is meeting with their finance committee this week, and I forget when the township meeting is,
I
maybe
just think
next
it's
week.
very important that we revisit this.
If
should
we need to
anything
delay
change.
until September 2nd, or whatever that meeting is, that's fine too, but I agree, we need to know what those answers are before we make our vote to accept.
And I have another question, please. So say we go through all this, will this actually confirm whether or not, will this help us in the future to work with Will County to say, this is not the right alignment for this road?
Yeah, the first study validates our claim. We have a theory. We will validate that claim. Once that theory is proven by this first part of the study, we have to spend more money to kind of validate that theory and claim, where it goes into soil testing, engineering, environmentals. I mean, that's where some of the additional money and additional time is spent.
And that's where we can also lobby Will County really hard.
Yeah.
to
At
go
that
in and
point,
say,
between
"Look,
now and then,
Say, come on, guys.
if we
come
prove
on,
the
guys,
argument,
you give us-
Quit being
give us
stubborn.
something."
Right, quit being stubborn. It's official now, we've called their bluff, we paid the money up front. The three municipalities have put some money in to see if it's viable. We all agree now, so let's stop playing games. And, the only other thing I did ask too with the Homer Glen was like, look, if Cedar Route becomes viable, are you guys in agreement with that? And it sounded like that was a positive feedback from them as well.
we also met with 33C. This impacts them, because they would have a 4-lane highway at their front door and their back door, and
Well, if they did this, they'd have it
Sandwiches
front
a
and
school,
back.
yeah.
Right, this actually eliminates the road behind them, it just keeps one road on it.
Right.
So, just making sure we had support.
Cedar is a 4-lane road in the 2030 plan anyway.
Right.
I do want to talk I just want to talk through Darren's kind of comment about a resolution opposing this a little bit more. Because as I play it through in my head and think about it a little bit strategically, right? I'm sure they'll be using federal funds for this project, right? They have to, right? And so if they come up, if they're looking for a final approval of a $600 million project for federal funds, and there are us, Homer Glen, Homer Township, schools, who are on the record as saying we're opposed to the current alignment of this, my guess is they're pretty unlikely to be successful, right? So does that become a forcing mechanism for them to say, listen, you guys have already, like the mayor summed up, right? You guys have done your studies, didn't make a whole lot of sense the way you did it. We're asking you to reconsider. We're probably saving, I'll throw out a number, $100 million in construction costs here if we go through with this. But does that, if we're on the record as being opposed, and some of these others are as well, say, all right, Will County, as is, this isn't going to work, right? You're not going to get the money for it. Let's talk about how, let's have a real conversation about how we split these engineering costs going forward, right?
That, in theory, it's a county project, and their mechanism of voice is the TCC committee. The TCC committee has already selected the preferred route, whether we like it or not.
To give the council an idea, the TCC was made up of Plainfield and Crest Hill and Joliet Township and Joliet and Lockport, New Lenox. And so what happened is people who had no dog in the race decided this for us, okay? And so even if Homer Township and Homer Glen and Lockport had opposed this, we were outvoted by people who have, this does not affect them at all. And that's what I find, more than anything else, that's what I find most disturbing and disgusting about this entire thing that was shoved down Lockport's throats back in June of 2009.
The way that this could impact them is that they want to see this project successful, right? We could shave potentially a lot of money off the cost of the project and make it more likely to be successful.
That's always been my argument with it. My argument is like, look, if it gets kicked down the can, or the can gets kicked down the road all the time because it's 600 million, what if it's just 500 million? You know, I mean, if we're saving money, perhaps we can bring it to a sense of reality. So it's another reason why I've been like,
Well, but, I talked to the mayor of Crest Hill, he says, hey, as long as it doesn't affect what happens at Crest
yeah,
Hill.
everybody
Mayor
west of the
Plainfield,
river
same
could
thing.
care
Well,
less.
I
They
don't,
just
as
build
long
me a
as
bridge.
as long as it doesn't affect us, I don't care
Right.
what happens.
Right, so that's fine. So that's why the conversations have been with Homer Township and Homer Glen and that. And we were all in agreement to like, look, let's,
Okay, I'm done.
I have a question. This TCC, it's made up of Plainfield, these other communities.
and Lockport and Homer, and yes. Mhm.
Is there, will they come back and push back on this? What is this TCC, is it gone? What
No,
is-
no, we still meet. It's, in the TCC committee meetings, we've had this discussion, and it's like, you know, those of us on this side of the, you know, the bridge, think this is a bad thing, and they're like, that's fine, but it doesn't affect us. So we're happy with the way it is. Like, well, if we pay for it to get this relooked at, are you guys okay with that? I'm like, fine, whatever. But, so it's really our issue.
So they won't push back?
No,
because-
they don't care on that side of the bridge.
Part of this process is the three communities, we all pass our resolutions, we go to the county for a resolution, they hire civil tech and hopefully validate this claim. Once that has been proven, then we will go back to the TCC and give them an update in regards to what's occurred.
If anything, we go back and we say, hey, guess what? It's viable. I think we just saved $100 million, right?
And that could be a point
Much
where
is
you
on
try to
you.
politic for
Yeah.
someone.
Okay. All right, well, why don't we, we'll put it on for an action item.
Yeah,
We can,
and hopefully, we should have the answers from the other two entities before the 16th. If they don't, we can certainly defer it until September.
Okay. All right, we'll see what comes up next time. All right. 2017 bond.
Thank you, Mayor. As part of the capital improvement plan, it was decided many years ago that the city would issue a bond every other year to help fund the road projects. So this year, we're looking at selling a bond for about $2 million. At the time this council memo was written, we didn't have the actual date for the rating call. That has been now set for August 14th. So what we'll have at the next council meeting is a public hearing opening up for comment. And then the bond sale would occur September 6th and a closing date of September 25th. So what we're looking for is to put on the next agenda, a public hearing for a bond sale.
Okay, so is it a public hearing and an action item to pass if the public hearing goes well?
It's
Just the public hearing?
Just a public hearing, yes, at this point. So what you'll pass is a bond ordinance somewhere down the road after it sells.
All right, thoughts, questions, concerns?
No, this is kind of a standard funding mechanism. If you looked, I think, I'm having trouble with my iPad. The rate is like 1.6% or something like that.
Well, if we're lucky, yes.
65515.
Well, okay, you got it right. I mean, it's very low. We've kept a good rating. The call hasn't happened yet, but that would be great. I mean, I think most people have heard about the CPS bond that just went out at like 7.5%, and they're paying more in interest than they are in principal over the 30 years. That's not this, right? This is our normal funding mechanism for projects at very good rates. So I definitely support it.
All right, we good with putting this up for a public hearing next meeting? All right. Okay, Mr. Ben Benson, or Sonny, you taking AT1, who wants to?
Yes, Mayor, City Council, item AT1 has to do with the ordinance amending Chapter 111 of the Lockport Code as it pertains to number of liquor license and the limitation on number of classes of liquor license. So there's a background attached in the memo regarding an owner of Ranch Liquors at 1513 South State Street that went out of business in 2013, and as when a business closed, that license gets available to another owner, and the State Street Pantry located at 1134 South State Street was granted that license for the privilege of doing a full sale of packaged liquor. So soon after that was granted, the owners of the 1513 South Street, the property owner, requested that a license be issued to allow his tenant, Liquor Plus Plus, to be able to sell alcohol at that site. So since the code has limitations, the ordinance would have to be, of course, amended to increase the number. And the owner of the property at 1513 South Street has agreed to 3 conditions. One, that there be no visible trucks that will be parked that poses eyesore to the area. 2, there be a limited number of neon signs and other signs advertising for beer or other alcoholic beverages, the ones that you see at some of those gas stations. And 3, there be no sales of pint and half pints of alcohol. So that's part 1 of the amendment. The other part is to kind of clean up a error that was made in which the bar license class A1, A2, B1, and B2, there was an increase back in 2012 to increase it to 6, but because of some Scribner's error and error by staff, that subsequent amendments didn't include that 6, the increase in 6. So the second part of the ordinance would be to, of course, increase it back up to 6, what was the original intent back in 2012. So the city staff at this time will recommend that the city council place this item, amending chapter 111, on the August 16th meeting. And if there's any other amendments that needs to be added to the city council for this ordinance, I could entertain that.
Can we do this sooner for this gentleman?
Well, usually for amendments, increasing, amendments typically goes to the committee of the whole first to get discussion going, and then the actual action item will be on the August 16th. And as soon as that it's approved, then the license will be available.
For the most part, this is the way we do things. We talk about it here, give it 2 weeks to get it disseminated to the public if there's any feedback, and then we do action items. So it's typical the way we do stuff.
Question on the signage, is that for that class of liquor license, or just for that person?
Just for that particular location.
Yep, for that
Just
particular.
that location.
Yeah.
Has that been clarified? Have you guys worked out what that means, the limitations of signage and?
Yes, I mean, the liquor commissioner, the mayor, has the ability to put restrictions on licenses. It's a, it's a type of, it's a privilege to sell alcohol. So the local control could come through the mayor as a liquor commissioner on restrictions on how that business operates, including what items to sell, what the size is, the advertisement, the overall look of the area. And so one of the conditions in order to have the privilege of the retail sale of alcohol is that you have to comply with those conditions.
But I mean, is there specific conditions on signage? Like, you only have one per every other window, or?
That's something that we
guys
could.
clarifies that?
Yeah, that's something that we'll work out with the
Okay.
business owner
So you
prior
still have
to.
to.
Yes, yeah.
But they did agree to do some things that needed to clean up that plaza, and that was good, so that was fine. As far as the other one goes, that was a place that had an existing license. It was supposed to still be available, but like as Sonny pointed out, there were some clerical errors which made it go away. The new place, if it ever happens, they did tell them it does need to have food and, a place where you can eat. It's not just a straight bar. So that kind of conforms with other things that we've been doing anyway, so.
Were we also ratifying that wine-only request?
Yes,
for-
there's another business owner that has requested a Class G1 that would allow wine sale for on-site consumption. And I believe I could easily amend this to allow that.
Yeah, and that is, what's the name of the restaurant again?
Anthony's.
Yeah.
Friday night.
That's up
It's a
there on
Greek place.
159th Street, it's
Mhm.
the Greek place. He wanted to sell wine with his stuff too, so.
Are you there again?
So I, as a liquor commissioner, was fine with these, parameters, so it needs council feedback and your thoughts.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, then, is this something do we need to put this on for an action item, or can this be a consent?
It could be a consent because it's just a minor change to add the increase the limitation for Anthony, so it could be on consent.
Okay, well, then we'll do that. All right, thank you. All right, North Street and McGregor. McGregor, you gonna talk about it there, Brent?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I do have a couple items on the agenda this evening to discuss. The first one, North Street and McGregor Street. Just first, real quick, give a quick update. We are getting very close to seeing some pavement out there, seeing some new asphalt. The project is scheduled to be completed here over the next 2.5 weeks or so, just in time for school. That's still the goal. If we get any luck with the weather, the goal is still to get this open by school. So, project is going well. We did have a change order on the project that was brought to our attention a couple weeks ago. The original plans called for a 30-inch storm, or called out an existing 30-inch storm sewer pipe. Unfortunately, when the contractor got out there and started doing the excavation, they realized that it was not a 30-inch storm sewer. It ended up being a 49 by 33-inch elliptical pipe. And so the initial plans with the replacement of that pipe, and then also the connections, since these connections now are a lot different than a standard 30-inch pipe, the price for this is estimated to be about $40,000. In order to do this correctly, instead of trying to take this 49 by 33-inch RCP pipe, or I'm sorry, not RCP, elliptical pipe, and connect it and leave in some old pipe, what we did was we took it back another 15 feet or so to the north and another 15 feet or so to the south, got it completely out of North Street. So now there's no future potential for issues. There's no kind of collar that was put in the ground that could or could not hold. In my opinion, now this is going to be an ultimate long-term fix. With that, there is also some existing fence that is on the north side of North Street. Where this existing culvert empties, it actually is the upstream end of the culvert. So where that is located currently, there is a fence. It's just a kind of a generic, more of a safety fence. What we are going to put up there is, to be consistent with the other projects in the city, more of a wrought iron steel black fence to give it a little bit more of a look and be consistent with the other projects in the area. Again, this project, the cost is roughly $40,000. We're still working through everything. The contractor has not completed the work. We haven't gotten a final price on the fencing. There is also an additional storm manhole that was added as part of this work. So my request this evening would be to obviously take any questions or any other discussion this evening, but then put it on the council for an action item on the 16th. At that time, I would have definitive costs for council.
All right, thoughts, questions, concerns, grapes?
I was talking to Brent about this one he's getting into all the projects and doing all that stuff. Brent, maybe you want to talk about, like, you've been talking about new policies and procedures of how to, like, avoid this in the future?
Sure. This is one of those that I don't want to say that we're going to be able to catch every change order. I don't want to lead council to believe that, but I do hope in the future and moving forward that one of the things that we're going to do is internally we were going to have a more thorough review process, and it's just going to be each department, so our water, our sanitary, our street department, our engineering department, we're all going to have a sign-off on each of the individual departments, divisions that we have within the Public Works and Engineering group. So we'll all be looking at our own portions to make sure that anything that the engineer, that the outside designer is putting on paper is actually what's out there. We've got a lot of staff with a lot of great knowledge, and they've got that knowledge. We're just looking right now to kind of share that and make sure that we're getting the right people to look at it. So that's one of the main things. Number two, when we do go out there and we do a survey, one of the things that we're going to do is actually have a walkthrough of that survey. So when that survey is completed, come back to us. Again, our staff, they have a lot of good knowledge, and that staff is going to go out. I think we talked about this probably 2 months ago or so, having the ability to go out and if there is a question, pothole, open it up a year in advance. Let's see where that water main is, where that size is, what size pipe that is. So if we do have anything that we're concerned about, we can address it ahead of time. We know what we're going to go into as best as we can. Those are the biggest things that I think moving forward that we're going to do. Again, and then kind of as a big picture item, the GIS. And I know we've got some GIS out there. It's not 100% accurate. And so one of the things that we're going to do is look to improve upon that, get new information, verify information. And, you know, again, as part of that, when we have engineers go out and do the work, do the survey, do the design, we're not going to be, we're going to ask them not to rely on our data. And I know that sounds kind of backwards, but we can't guarantee our own information at this point. And so we're not going to give it out as, you know, it's going to be a tool for us, I guess, not a tool for the designer. We're going to ask the designer to go out and use their field reconnaissance, essentially, and build the plans off of that. So.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for...
Measure twice, cut once.
Yeah, buddy. All right, everybody good with an action item? Okay.
Commissioner consent.
All right. Lastly, Princess Court and Charles Street water main replacement.
Item PW2 this evening. This is a project that was budgeted. It is in our fiscal year 2017 document. This is for the Princess Court and Charles Street water main. It is water main only. The roadway was resurfaced within the last couple of years, so the roadway's in very good shape. The water main is currently in the parkway, so we're going to be able to do a lot of the work in the parkway. You might have a crossing or two, but that's the impacts to the road. The project that I guess the main reason for bringing this to council this evening is to evaluate or to get some feedback from council as to whether or not council would allow us to, instead of going out to an individual bid for this project, this is a 2017 project that we'd like to do this year. The estimate on it is right about $300,000. We have budgeted $318,000. We would like to take this to our existing contractor that's in town right now, which is Len Cox and Sons. They are doing the rest of the water main projects that have either been done or currently are being done. 9th Street, the work that's right out front, that is Len Cox. State Street was Len Cox. And then also McGregor and North, the water main and sanitary portion was Len Cox. This work would be an addition. It would give them another 5 to 6 weeks of work and of time to complete that. So the completion date on the initial project was in September. This would run them through October. The initial bid, or award, I should say, for the initial project was
1.9.
$1,974,444.75. So that was the initial project that went out earlier this spring. That was bid on. We had a number of bids, so we do feel like we have solid bids. We have very good bids. It was done earlier in the year, which is typically when you're going to receive better bids. Our fear now is we've got a smaller project. We don't have the ability to go out with a larger project and get the the better pricing, and then also later in the year we feel like we might not have the best time of year to go out and get an individual project. So all of that being said, we're asking council to consider us using the existing bids, the existing bid items. No changes to that contract. It would be at roughly $300,000 in additional to that, roughly $2 million contract.
All right, thoughts, questions?
Well, I'm very happy with this. This, to give you an idea where Charles Street is directly across the street from the Park District, the pool over there. If there is a worse water main in the city of Lockport, I don't know where it is. This is absolutely, positively the worst water main. I have been there when they have opened up the fire hydrants and see chunks the size of my hand come out of rust, come out of this. It is disgusting. When people talk about bad water in Lockport, this is the worst of the worst of the worst. So this is Oh, this should have been done 50 years ago.
So you won't have to convince anyone that it's chocolate water anymore, right?
Yeah, that was another story.
Okay. All right.
Can I
any
just
other
ask a
thoughts? Yeah,
question?
please.
So I agree with Darren, I've seen this water, and it's really bad and needs to be done. And Brent, I know you weren't here, but if this is in the CIP, we went out to bid earlier on these projects, why wasn't this included in the bid? Right, if we were making a bigger bid, there's a potential for.
It was in
for better
next year's CIP. I think it was in 2018, and we've actually pulled it up in our bid process this year. And we didn't have it designed at the time when we went out to the bid. We were working with, we've kind of been progressing it to try to move it up, so we weren't quite having it all together.
It was in the CIP in 2017 budget to be replaced in 2017.
We put it in there. I think originally it was in like 2018 or 2019. In the most recent year, we put it in the budget to do it. I just think we weren't ready with the design yet.
I don't think it was in the CIP at all, to be honest with
Oh,
you.
it wasn't?
That was my recollection, as they told me last year it needed to be done and entered, but it did not get designed, and that's why it didn't get added. So it's been designed now, it's ready to go. So it
Correct.
was in this year's budget.
Yeah, and again, I'm sure everybody's seen this document, I'm still trying to sift through it, but it does say on page 143, just to read the sentence, City Council felt the extreme condition warranted adding this project to the 2017 budgets, even though it was not originally included in the CIP. So.
Stand corrected.
I think my memo may have said that it was in the CIP. I do have a CIP
Sheet
form
now,
sheet for it, which I think was created kind of as part of this document, so I think it was probably not in the original CIP. So I do apologize on the memo, but.
So I agree with getting this done, because it's just one of those things, it really is that bad that I support getting it done. Feels like this is just another one of those cases where,
Could have done it.
process could use some improvement though, and, as we revamp the CIP, I think we'll get a good list of these type of things.
And I think I don't know if it's a state statute, but we can add up to 50% of the original contract amount with this current vendor. So we're way below guidelines in regards to, there were some concerns, does the law say that you can add more to this existing contract that we bid out? Is it 10%, is it 20? We found out that we have the ability to extend that contract 50%. So we're well within, the 300,000 is well short of, what was the overall?
50%,
1.9.
50%, then
almost
you have to
$2 million.
rebid it, yeah.
So.
Yeah, my concern is more just process-wise, that we're getting this all together and presenting the best best package to try to get the best bids in.
Then you're talking
For the
about
future.
the pros and cons of this. So the pros of this actual amendment, what we're doing is we're getting the pricing for a $1.9, $2 million project on a $300,000 project. But the cons to that is it could have been a $2.3 million project. You're saying, I get what you're saying, putting it all together. But we're cleaning it up, our processes are cleaning up, we're moving forward. 2018 is going to be totally different, I was told, so that's.
We'll all still wait in anticipation for that updated CIP that we
Yeah,
can
Brent.
comb through.
I don't even let them go
I
home
just know
anymore.
every day I make you wait, it's that much better, it's gonna be that much better for you guys.
All right, my friends, are we good with the consent then on this?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't have an exact dollar amount, so I didn't know.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I will have an exact dollar amount. It's in that 300 range. We're just waiting on just the final,
Yeah,
Why don't we just do an action?
Yeah, just leave it in action until we have its numbers.
do an action. All righty.
thank you.
Any new business? No new busyness? Then look for a motion to
Real
adjourn.
quick, new business, Brent, you want to talk about, you went off for an RFQ, right? Civil engineering?
We did. We went out, thank you, Jim. Went out for an RFQ, went out, boy, it's been out on the street for about a week now, I guess. This is the RFQ for an entire evaluation of the current engineering municipal staff that we use. So what we've done is gone out and prepared basically a document that's going to help us to evaluate in 8 different areas our engineering staff. So anybody who's out and currently doing work, I believe I would anticipate we're going to get submittals from them. I would anticipate getting submittals from people that we don't currently do work with, but it will be broken up into, and I'm going to go off memory, but transportation, stormwater, water, wastewater, be GIS, landscaping, photometrics, development review, and, is that 8?
Close enough.
Project review, I think that was it. But, so that'll be the different areas that we're going to evaluate. And again, what this goal is to put everybody on a level playing field, evaluate everybody. We're going to do a process that will give us the ability to bring in companies to have discussions with them, interview them, and then put together a list. So in each of these 8 areas, we'll have a list. It's going to be ranked with, the top 3 I would anticipate in each area, and those will be presented to council. So council has an understanding of how we've evaluated, who we've evaluated, and what these, each individual individual engineering company, kind of what their area of expertise is. I think that's very important, and I think that's one of the things that, from me, kind of coming in and evaluating and being here, I think it's very, I can't say it enough, very important to get the right people to do the right thing. There's a lot of good that comes with people who have relationships with the county, for instance. If we have an issue with the county, or maybe not even an issue, a new roadway that's going to connect to the county, having that ability to have an engineer in here who works well with the county. Water, wastewater, making sure that we have the right people in here. If we're looking for specific grants, making sure we have the right people in here looking for specific grants. So again, what this is supposed to do, or what this is intended to do, is to kind of take what we have right now, which is we've got a lot of good engineering companies in here, but really, I think, condense that and get them more into some areas that when you guys hear stormwater, it's going to be very easy for council to understand stormwater. Okay, that's A, B, or C. So that's the goal, but the process will be about another 2 weeks receiving them, and then it's going to take us a couple weeks to go through, and hopefully within a month or so, you guys will start to see some results.
So you said that we would get like ranking, that's not the word you used, but
Yep.
will that be yours, like who does that? Will that be you evaluating all of them, or will you have help with that?
Yeah, there will be myself, and we're still working on putting together a panel in-house, but there will be several different individuals on that panel.
We did this in 2013, a little bit of a smaller scope. This is a much larger scope this time, but we did this in 2013. We brought in companies to interview them, and just kind of, basically, you're pre-qualifying them and getting their backgrounds and checking references and knowing what their experiences are. And because not every engineering firm, and these are basically mostly a lot of engineering firms. Some are better at other things than others, and so we want to try to create a list that these are the people we use. You have to be careful. You don't want, one company doing everything, and we don't want 12 companies doing everything. So this is about consolidation, and it's hard for staff on board to manage 18 vendors. It's just impossible. So you've got to have your partnerships and your key relationships, and those are the top 6 or 3, or depending on the topic, so that we go to.
How long will this list be applicable? Is it
Typically
like reviewed
3,
every
5
year,
years. I
reviewed
mean, I don't
every
know if we
2
said,
years, 3
yeah.
years? Just because if a key employee leaves from that company might not be as good if that was the reason we liked them.
Just because on their list doesn't mean we have to use them either. These are just pre-qualifications of who we want to select when we need pricing for a project. So if the top talent leaves for one company and we realize that and we feel on the last job they didn't perform, you may not go back to use them right away. You might use the other 2 people. That's why we have more than one firm per topic.
We should probably have at least 3 then for competitive bid, or 4 or 5 if we're
Well,
not going to just
that
have
gets
3.
complicated. You
I
can't
mean, what you
competitively
just
bid
said
professional
is-
services, but we do a qualifications, and we set the list, and these are the people we go to, and there's a couple, 2, 3 on them, or how many end up on the list based on who responds, and we hope to get a good response with a good number of companies. I think we will. But we rely on staff to designate who they're using when for what project.
There will be multiple on each list.
Yeah.
So under stormwater, there will be multiple.
But to get back to answer your question, how long? I mean, I don't know if we've discussed how long, but
Well, we did it 4 years ago.
did it, yeah, I recommend 3. You don't want to do it every year. I understand your concern if something
But
changed, yeah.
Again, if a key person, the reason you liked it, you just said, if the reason you liked it was because they had a good working relationship with the county, well, if they leave, do they automatically come off the list then? I mean, if the reason we selected them, do we reevaluate it at that time?
I would
Because-
think if there's enough problematic changes, we can always just have a recommendation from staff that, hey, guys, we need to do another RFQ because we've had a lot of changes in the people we're using. So it can be done anytime it's deemed necessary, so.
And I think by creating the different groups, the 8 different, now if we do have an area that we feel like that happens in, then you could just go out for transportation, let's say. So now you've you've evaluated in 8 different groups. Gives us a little bit more flexibility too, I think.
You said about 2 weeks, is there an exact date? Or
There is.
There's a
and
deadline in the RFQ. Is it in the packet?
Apologize.
I don't know if we, probably not, because you asked about it. I could email you the RFQ.
That's fine. I'd like it, please.
All righty. Anything else? All right, looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
James, Jason, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, do you guys need a break, or you want to press on?
2 seconds?
Stretch, a little stretch at least.
Stretch, okay. When you're ready, Kathy, give us a roll call.
Present.
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 Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
All right, I'm looking for a motion to have a consent agenda this evening.
So moved.
Wow. I got Joanne and Jim at the same time. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the consent agenda for this evening is the July 19th regular city council meeting minutes, the July 19th committee of the whole meeting minutes, our payroll period ending July 16th, our various bills. There was PZ case 2017-04, which was the expansion of the existing electrical substation with ComEd. There was PZC case 2017-006, which was the Montessori school. We had the disclosable payment, IMRF retirement. There was the facade grant for 901 South State and 1131133 East 9th. And then there was a fire sprinkler alarm system for the same property. And then lastly, we had our 2017 Ford Explorer. So looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make the motion.
Jason,
Second.
seconded by Renee. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes.
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 I vote yes on all items on the consent agenda except those that involve my employer, and on that item, and in this case, item 4, paying of various bills, I abstain.
Yes.
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 All righty. Looks like we're having executive session requests, CA1 for personnel.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. 2C1 personnel, but I would also like to add a 2C21 for approval of executive session minutes.
Okay. So we'll do that then during the executive session?
Right? It's on his
Or
chart.
you could wait until after.
Oh, yeah,
Or-
okay. No, we'll do it that way. All right, page 3, we got PW1, which was the well 15 design and IEPA project plan that we talked about. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
James,
Second.
seconded by, yeah, you did. Seconded by Christina. All right, discussion, concerns, any last review of it that you need? Everybody on board?
Yes.
Okay, and we'll do a roll call.
Yes.
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 All right, the next thing we were looking for was a motion to approve Resolution 17006, which was authorizing the administrator and staff to execute the contract with Christopher Burke Engineering for construction services for the 2017 roadway reconstruction project in the amount not to exceed $1,229,45,000. So looking for a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
Jim and JR. Any other feedback you guys need? Any discussion?
Testing was out of that one, right?
Okay. Well, for good, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so then we're looking to have a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
JR? Seconded by Jason. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right, we'll adjourn to our chambers. To our